Millions of years ago, extinct animals have always been an endless source of fascination for us, especially the non-avian dinosaurs. Our curiosity about their size and ferocity has fueled countless debates throughout history. Yet while dinosaurs have long been the brightest stars of the ancient world, the great terrestrial mammalian predators have never received the same level of attention. People often argue about the greatest predator in history, and the first name that usually comes up is Andrewsarchus, often hailed as the king of land-dwelling carnivores. However, the truth might be very different. Based on recent discoveries, another contender has begun to claim that throne, Arctodus, the giant short-faced bear. And its story is truly remarkable. We have known about Arctodus for more than 170 years, ever since the first traces of it were discovered in Argentina. Although the initial specimen was not particularly large, it was impressive enough to catch the attention of paleontologists. The fossils were exceptionally well preserved, allowing scientists to identify it as a new species of bear, which they named Arctodus bonariensis, a name deeply tied to the region where it was found. The fossils of Arctodus provided vital clues, placing it within the family Ursidae, the bear family, notable for its deep, short skull, a defining feature of the Arctodus group, hence the nickname short-faced bears. Immense height and size. When speaking of Arctodus, one of its most striking traits is its enormous size. With adults weighing up to 950 kilograms, around 2,100 pounds, Arctodus was not only one of the largest bears to ever exist, but also comparable to the biggest polar bears ever recorded. Other researchers have pointed out that the humerus used in some size estimations showed signs of pathology, specifically a healed fracture, which may have artificially inflated its circumference. Because allometric equations are highly sensitive to such measurements, a pathological bone could have led to an overestimation of the animal's healthy body mass. Although the original paper acknowledged this abnormality, it still proceeded with the calculations, a decision that remains debated among scientists today. Even when potential overestimations are considered, the La Plata specimen still represents an animal of extraordinary proportions. When compared to its North American counterpart, Arctodus simus, a more complex picture begins to emerge. Since the discovery of Arctodus bonariensis, scientists have uncovered several other species within this genus, all varying greatly in size. Yet one species stands above them all: Arctodus angustidens. This was the largest member of the short-faced bear family, believed to have weighed up to 2,600 pounds, around 1,200 kilograms. With such dimensions, Arctodus angustidens is regarded as the strongest candidate for the title of the largest bear of all time. In fact, a specimen, unearthed in Buenos Aires in 2011, astonished scientists who estimated its weight could have exceeded 4,500 pounds, about 2,040 kilograms, nearly 3 times heavier than the biggest Catosaurus individuals ever known. Species within the genus Arctodus. The genus Arctodus includes 2 recognized species, each with its own unique characteristics and evolutionary history. The species believed to be the ancestor is Arctodus pristinus, also known as the small, short-faced bear. It appeared earlier during the Pleistocene epoch and was primarily distributed across eastern North America. Compared to its descendant, A. pristinus was smaller in size, had a longer snout, and smaller teeth, traits suggesting a more omnivorous diet, possibly including a variety of plant matter. This species went extinct around 300,000 years ago, likely due to a combination of climate changes and increasing competition from other bear species such as the American black bear, Ursus americanus, and the Florida spectacled bear, Tremarctos floridanus. The more famous and much larger species was Arctodus simus, or the giant short-faced bear. It is thought to have evolved from A. pristinus and became one of the largest land carnivores to have ever lived in North America. During the late Pleistocene, Rancho-Labrian age, A. simus achieved a continental distribution, ranging from Alaska to Mexico. Its fossils are more numerous and often better preserved than those of A. pristinus, providing a far clearer understanding of this impressive creature. Although the 2 species may have coexisted for a time during the Middle Pleistocene, there is no direct fossil evidence of territorial overlap or competition between them. Competition and dominance of Arctodus. With its massive weight and towering size, Arctodus was not just a giant bear, it was a fearsome predator. In fact, studies of its diet suggest it was no less carnivorous than the great predators of the ancient world. Arctodus likely hunted large prey such as horses, camels, and other megafauna like Glyptodon, Megalochnus, or Toxodon. Arctodus did not rule the vast plains of prehistoric Argentina alone. Thanks to its overwhelming strength and size, it often prevailed over other large carnivores such as Smilodon, Canis dirus, the dire wolf, and various species of prehistoric big cats. These animals may have competed with Arctodus for food sources, but none could match its sheer power and dominance. Even though some large predators like Smilodon were formidable in their own right, they still could not rival Arctodus, especially in one-on-one confrontations. These bears dominated environments ranging from open grasslands to sparse forests, shaping an ecosystem dramatically different from the one we know today. Decline and extinction. Despite being a remarkably successful predator of its time, Arctodus eventually met the same fate as many other prehistoric animals: extinction. This occurred roughly 11,000 years ago when massive climate shifts and environmental changes at the end of the Pleistocene transformed habitats across the continent. The rise of new animal species combined with a drastically changing ecosystem created an ecological revolution to which Arctodus could not adapt quickly enough. Even in extinction, Arctodus remains one of the greatest prehistoric mammals ever known, a vivid testament to the grandeur and dominance of the creatures that once ruled the earth for millions of years. Behavior and lifestyle. With its immense size and physical power, Arctodus was not only a terrifying hunter, but also a master of underground dwellings. Although capable of living in caves or burrows, Arctodus did not build its own shelters. Instead, it acted as a conqueror, taking over dens dug by other species, possibly by animals referred to as Zarthans, a group of burrowing mammals. Fierce territorial battles for these shelters were not uncommon and likely played a major role in Arctodus's daily life. Paleontologists believe these conflicts may have even caused a dramatic increase in the number of paleoburrows during the Pleistocene, as Arctodus repeatedly seized burrows from other species, forcing them to dig new ones, if they survived the encounter at all. Life for Arctodus was brutal. Injuries found on fossils reveal that these animals fought constantly, not only with other species but also with one another. Researchers discovered an unusually high rate of broken teeth among Arctodus specimens, likely caused by violent clashes between individuals. Deep wounds and bone damage would often lead to infections, contributing to a high mortality rate within the species. Nevertheless, Arctodus endured. It continued to thrive and dominate in this harsh environment until the ecological shifts of the late Pleistocene finally brought challenges it could not overcome. Major ecological changes. As the Pleistocene came to an end and the Holocene began, a series of massive ecological transformations reshaped the world that Arctodus once dominated. Other carnivorous species that had shared its environment began to diversify and thrive, creating fierce competition within this evolving ecosystem. Thus, Arctodus found itself facing one of the most challenging periods in its existence. Competition was no longer limited to large predators. It now included newly emerging carnivores and omnivores, species that were often smarter and more adaptable. This forced Arctodus into a constant struggle to adjust to rapidly changing conditions. With these ecosystem shifts and the rise of new predators, Arctodus began to lose its dominance. Around 700,000 years ago, the largest species, Arctodus angustidens, became completely extinct, marking the end of the golden age of the giant short-faced bears. However, intriguingly, while these colossal individuals disappeared, their legacy continued through 4 smaller descendant species, each occupying different regions. Even though they were smaller, these 4 successor species managed to survive and adapt for thousands of years after the extinction of their massive ancestors. They can generally be divided into 2 main groups, one that gradually shifted from carnivory to herbivory, and another that retained the predatory habits of their ancestors. Species such as Vusum and Wing transitioned toward a mostly plant-based diet, feeding primarily on leaves and fruits, though they occasionally consumed meat, particularly from creatures like Glyptodon, or, in rare cases, their own kind. These bears lived mainly in the northern regions, where they faced intense competition from new predators like the American lion and wild wolves, forcing them to adapt their eating behavior. The last carnivorous warriors, meanwhile, the Arctodus species in the southern regions, such as Bonar N and T. hens, continued to maintain their carnivorous lifestyle. These species inhabited Argentina and Chile, areas with fewer large predators. Their diet mainly consisted of small to medium-sized animals like camels and horses. However, as time went on, they increasingly turned to scavenging carcasses and bones to supplement their nutrition, as they no longer had the strength or stamina to hunt large prey like their ancestors once did. Although these smaller Arctodus species persisted for thousands of years, the final extinction event, occurring roughly 12,000 to 9,000 years ago, marked the end of the short-faced bears. Despite inhabiting different regions and having varied diets, all Arctodus species vanished around the same time, a mystery that continues to puzzle scientists. One possible explanation is the drastic climate and environmental shifts that took place during this period, which rendered the Arctodus species unable to adapt to the new conditions. Their distinctive body structure, with long limbs and a heavily built frame, may have made them too specialized, lacking the agility necessary to survive in a rapidly changing world. The end of an era. And so, the story of Arctodus, the giant short-faced bear, came to an end. A creature that once ruled an entire continent, inspiring fear and respect from every other predator, now remains only through the fossilized bones buried deep beneath the earth. Yet within each fossil and every fragment that time has spared, we can still sense the echo of an age when strength was the only law of nature, and Arctodus was its living embodiment. Its disappearance was not just the end of a single species, it was a reminder of the harsh truth of evolution. No ruler lasts forever. If you found the journey of Arctodus fascinating, join us as we continue exploring the other giants that once reigned over Earth, from the American lion to the dire wolf, and the many ancient predators that time has almost forgotten. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next expedition into the prehistoric world where legend meets fossil.